The suns died the same night. Not slowly as stars die, but all at once, as if someone had turned off their lights with a single invisible gesture. For a few seconds, the galaxy fell silent. Observatories lost contact, sensors became confused, and navigation networks collapsed. The universe, which had always pulsated with the brightness of the stars, suddenly flickered. It was at that moment that humans realized that they were not alone. The news spread with the speed of light. 100 systems, all separated by impossible distances, had their suns collapse simultaneously. There were no explosions, no supernova, and no detectable energy, only darkness. The phenomenon was named the Night of the 100 Suns, and since that day, the very idea of cosmic security has ceased to exist. On Earth, telescopes picked up the void. It was as if space had swallowed its own history. Scientists tried to understand it. Radiation, gravitational fields, quantum faults, but nothing explained the timing. Stars don't go out together. Someone made it happen, and as the questions grew, the boundaries of fear expanded with it. Religions have re-emerged. Cults began to worship the dark, calling it the return to the origin. Some said that God had called the light back to himself. Others believed that humanity was being hunted by something that hated the twinkle of the stars. Governments tried to contain the panic, but it was too late. Each sun extinguished meant cold worlds, entire populations trapped in darkness. The transmissions from the affected planets were short-lived. The last sign, coming from Epsilon Seraph, read, "Our sky has disappeared, and there's something out there, watching." Then, just static. The Space Exploration Command met urgently. At the top of the table, Commander Lyra Kalem observed the holographic map of extinct stars. 100 red dots blinked slowly, scattered across different arms of the galaxy but forming a subtle, almost deliberate pattern. "It's a signature." No one answered. It felt like looking at the trace of an invisible creature moving through the fabric of the cosmos. As the reports came in, an isolated research station in the Orpheon Delta sector picked up something unexpected. A faint signal coming from one of the dead stars. A rhythmic, repetitive pattern. 3 short pulses, 1 long, then silence. It was repeated every 72 hours. It was almost human. Lyra observed the signal spectrum on the display. "Prepare the fleet. I want a route to Orpheon. If there's something behind it." She paused, looking at the space reflected in the glass of the bridge. And for the first time since the beginning of the Night of the 100 Suns, humanity has moved towards darkness. Not to run away from it, but to ask who lit it. Space had looked different since the Night of the 100 Sois. As hyperluminous routes, once bathed in energy fields and radio signals, were now too quiet. Even the light seemed slower. And as the fleet advanced towards the Orpheon sector, Commander Lyra Kalem felt the void watching back. The ship Eidolon, the expedition's flagship, glided through the fold like a living shadow. Inside, hundreds of officers worked in silence, attentive to the monitors. None of them spoke loudly. Not out of discipline, but out of fear of hearing something responding. Destiny was a dead star. What was left of Orpheon Prime had been described in reports as a collapsed sun with no radiation, no heat, no detectable core, a quantum anomaly at the heart of an empty system. And yet, from there came a sign of artificial origin. "Distance to the jumping point?" asked Lyra, looking at the 3-dimensional map. The navigator adjusted the route. The final fold opened before them like a scar in space, a pulsating wound of dark blue energy. "All systems ready. Entering Orpheon in 3, 2. The light has become distorted." And then, silence. Space emerged before them, vast and cold. But something was wrong. The whole system was lackluster. What had once been a sun was now just a black sphere, motionless, as if absorbing light itself. No visible planet, no active orbit. Only the void and the signal, echoing at perfect intervals. 3 short, 1 long. The sensor analyzed the pattern. "It's not natural noise. Its binary coding. Old. Of human origin? Asked Lyra. At least, not recent human. The commander brought the holographic visor closer. Within the dark field where the sun should have been, a colossal structure rotated slowly. It looked metallic, but at the same time, organic. Lines that resembled luminous arteries ran along its surface, as if it were a machine made of living matter. God in heaven, muttered an officer. The structure was the size of a planet. The silence on the bridge was absolute. None of them knew if they were facing an extinct technology or a core still active. Captain, send reconnaissance probes, Lyra ordered. With each meter they approached, the signal increased in intensity, as if the structure were reacting to human presence.
Suddenly the two probes disappeared. No explosion, no power. Only disappeared. The radar showed a gravitational pulse, and the echo dissipated like a wave being absorbed. "Commander, we're picking something up," the analyst said. "The structure, it is emitting the same signal back. It's responding." Lyra frowned. "Translate. I want to know what you're saying." The computers took eternal minutes to process the data.
The binary pattern rearranged itself in constant repetitions and then settled into a recognizable sequence. Light must not be born. Light is pain. The cold ran down everyone's spine. Lyra was silent for long seconds. "Is this some kind of warning transmission?" asked the lieutenant. "Someone built this to erase stars, and he left the message as justification." The sensors began to pick up new pulses, this time coming from inside the structure. Slow, circular movements. Something was awakening. The tactical engineer looked at the viewfinder with a tense expression. "Commander, detecting gravitational variations. Something is spinning in the core." "Is it the engine?" "No, ma'am. It looks like an eye." The image appeared on the screens. A core of black energy, resembling an immense pupil, opened up in the center of the structure, staring at the human fleet as if recognizing the intruder. For a brief instant, the binary signal ceased, and a new sentence appeared on the monitors. Clear, direct, almost staff. "Why did you rekindle the dark?" The alarm sounded. Gravitational fields began to expand. Human ships struggled to maintain position as space distorted around the structure. Lyra took a deep breath and gave the order. "Retreat, now." But it was too late. The eye of the dead sun had awakened, and the first extinguished star was looking back. The silence after the distortion was almost physical. The Eidolon's engines were stabilized, but the sensors continued to collapse. Everything around vibrated at low frequencies, as if space itself was breathing. The structure stood before them, immense, immovable, alive. The gravitational readings didn't make sense. A body of that size should generate enough force to crush any nearby craft, but the force seemed controlled, as if something was holding the universe by the edges. "Re-establish eye contact," he ordered Lyra. As external cameras adjusted their focus, the image that appeared on the displays was more frightening than any weapon. The surface of the structure was not metallic, it was organic and geometric at the same time. A pulsating mosaic of living plates and golden circuitry, as if it were a planet made of flesh and machine. With each gravitational beat, tiny sparks of light traveled through the slits, like neurons transmitting impulses. "It's emitting radiation of biological pattern," the scientist informed. "Yes, Commander, he is alive. This is not a season, it's a body." The cold took the bridge. None of them could look for long. The structure stared back at them, silent and patient. Lyra knew he needed to see it up close. "Prepare the reconnaissance team. Let's go in." The hangar was taken over by tense voices, metal reverberating under the sound of footsteps. The exploration ships were activated, small capsules equipped with magnetic propulsion. Before boarding, the communications officer approached. "Commander, if this thing is alive, entering can be interpreted as an attack. Then let's go in slowly," she replied. "But let's go in." Team Delta was released into silence. 3 capsules descended to one of the visible openings in the structure. What looked like a hole was actually a carved corridor filled with columns that pulsed with energy. It looked like a temple built inside a creature. The walls reacted to the human approach. Each time the lights of the capsules illuminated a new area, the ancient symbols flashed, casting moving shadows. "These inscriptions," muttered the linguist. "They are very old. They mix mathematics and phonemes. It's not just communication, it's a command pattern." In the center of the hallway, a perfect circle of dark material awaited them. As one of the capsules approached, the ground opened in a spiral shape, revealing a well of liquid energy. Like an ocean of dead light, inside it, humanoid forms floated, transparent, prey in slow motion. "My God, record everything," said Lyra, keeping his voice steady. The figures were not human, but they weren't completely alien either. His features reminded him of something ancestral, almost familiar. They were hybrid bodies, part organic, part crystal, with closed eyes and symbols engraved on the chest. The linguist adjusted the visual translator. "The symbols are a warning, or a prayer." "Translate." He hesitated. "Say, we've turned off the lights so the huntsman doesn't see us." The silence that followed was heavier than the vacuum. The crew realized that these creatures, whatever they were, had sacrificed the cosmos itself to hide from something. Suddenly, the ground began to vibrate. The glowing liquid stirred, and for an instant, a huge face formed within him. It was not solid nor physical. It was made of energy and vaguely resembled a star looking inside out. The voice that came next used no sound. It spoke straight into Lyra's mind. "You rekindled what slept. Now he can see you." The next gravitational pulse swept the site. The capsules were thrown out, and the systems shut down. In space, the structure began to rotate slowly, opening a ring of dark light. "Commander, it's activating something. Back off! Back off now!" The Eidolon tried to walk away, but the pull was colossal. On radar, the readings showed something emerging from the interior of the structure. A gigantic object, like a ship made of shadow, breaking free from the heart of the dead sun. And for the first time, the void took shape, a shadow with wings of cool light. The Eidolon ship floated adrift in Orpheon's orbit. All major systems were down. The last gravitational pulse had passed through the fuselage like an invisible tide, erasing circuits, sensors, and communications. The silence was absolute. Lyra Kalem watched the void through the window of the bridge. Outside, the colossal structure continued to rotate slowly, emitting a dark glow, as if the dark itself was rearranging. In the center of the newly formed gravitational ring, the ship made of shadow stood motionless, an impossible silhouette, composed of matter that did not reflect light. It was as if the space refused to describe him. "Commander," the analyst's weak voice broke the silence. "I recovered some of the data from the Delta team before the collapse." The flickering hologram revealed symbols and patterns of energy. Sequences of gravitational pulses alternated with old characters. Among them, one word was repeated in various forms. "The Unmakers." Lyra took a deep breath. "Did they leave records?" "Yes, but they are not ordinary messages. They are memories, recorded in gravitational waves." The scientist activated the reproduction. The bridge was flooded with a projection of distorted lights, which were molded into translucent figures, haughty creatures with bodies composed of solid energy and indistinct faces. Their voices echoed at several frequencies at once, as if they spoke from within and outside of time. "We were born before light," said the first voice, when the cosmos still slept in perfect darkness. But the light came, and with it, the hunter. The images showed young galaxies being devoured by something invisible. Whole suns disappeared without explosion. The space around it became cold, crystalline, and dead. The light feeds him. Where it is born, it awakens. So we swear to turn off the glow until the universe goes back to sleep. The video was a testament, a confession. The erasers were not conquerors. They were caretakers of the abyss, too old to be understood. They had created colossal machines to extinguish stars, to return the universe to what they called its pure state. But there was something more. In the midst of the recordings, a coded sequence began to repeat, creating an image, a spiral-shaped shadow with a hollow center. Inside it, a single sentence pulsed in gravitational frequency. "The huntsman will wake up when the 100th sun is rekindled." Lyra's heart raced. They weren't just erasing stars. They were trying to prevent the awakening of something greater. The communications engineer analyzed the signals with a tense look. "Commander, this explains the night of the 100 suns. They erased exactly 100 stars." Lyra slowly turned to him. "And we rekindled one." The silence was prolonged. Everyone understood at the same time. Whatever the hunter was, it was trapped, or asleep, in the cycle of the stars. Each rekindled sun was a flash in his direction, a call in the dark. The ship detected a new anomaly. "Captain, the shadow object is moving." Radar showed the Colossus gliding through space, with no visible propulsion. It did not emit energy, but it distorted the vacuum around it. On its shell, engraved in thin lines of dead light, was a symbol identical to the one in the engravings, the hollow spiral. "He's watching," the linguist whispered. "No, he is remembering," Lyra replied. The voice of the structure echoed again in the communications, this time clear, as if speaking inside everyone's minds. "You have rekindled the first sun. Now the trail has been opened. The light will be born again, and the huntsman will come to see who dared to call him." The gravitational field began to expand in all directions. The sensors recorded energetic fluctuations in other systems, distant echoes, signals from stars that were previously dead, starting to vibrate again. Lyra watched helplessly as the readings multiplied. The War of the 100 Suns. It wasn't about to start. It had already begun a long time ago, and humanity had just lit the match. The dead sun of Orpheon began to pulsate, not with light, but with memories. On board the Eidolon, the instruments vibrated in silence, as if reacting to a melody that no one heard. The star's core, which had previously been a sphere of solid shadow, now exhibited traces of irregular luminescence, sparks of energy moving in patterns that resembled heartbeats. "It's impossible," murmured the astrophysicist watching the monitors. "A dead star does not emit spontaneous nuclear activity." But Lyra felt something different. That wasn't physical energy. It was intentional. A calling. She ordered them to connect the communication sensors to the gravitational flow of the sun. A neural bridge was improvised, something too risky but inevitable. Algorithms began translating the pattern of pulses into audible sound waves. And for the first time in human history, a star has spoken. The voice was deep, multiple, and too old to have its origin in matter. "You rekindled my memory." All remained motionless. The voice didn't come through the speakers. It came from inside the mind. Each person heard it in his own language, as if the sun spoke directly to thought. Lyra took a deep breath. "Who are you?" "I am what is left of the light. That which the erasers tried to hide." The crew members looked at each other. The room seemed to vibrate in unison with the voice. What did they hide? The hunter. The ship's lights flickered. The space outside the window seemed to undulate. And for a moment, everyone felt a presence. Something ancient, watching from afar, as if the vacuum itself had eyes. The erasers believed that the light was calling to him. The voice continued, "But they were wrong. He does not hunt for light. He is the light." The silence was immediate. "Explain," said Lyra, keeping control of his breathing. "The universe was born from a spark, a cry of conscience. Call it the Big Bang, or the Word. This consciousness scattered fragments of itself in the stars. Each sun is an echo, a reminder of who lit the first fire. But when the erasers discovered what was inside the light, they went mad. They saw the reflection of creation, and they tried to put it out. The star pulsed harder, and the sensors began to record holographic images in the air. Visual memories of the early cosmos, newborn galaxies, light flowing like blood through space, and colossal figures of energy moving between them. The universe's first consciousnesses, entities made of pure luminosity. "We were the first," said the voice. "We keep the memory of the Creator. And when he left, we were alone." The hunter was born out of this emptiness, the need for light to look at itself. But looking too much into infinity, it's going crazy. The ship began to vibrate. Lyra struggled to keep his calm. "You're saying that the hunter is part of creation?" "Forgotten part. The reflection that the light itself fears to see. And now, you have called him." The lights on the bridge went out completely. The star's voice diminished until it became a whisper inside Lyra's mind. "When he comes, he will not destroy. He will remember. And the universe will be forced to remember with him." Suddenly, the sun's core began to expand. Gravitational waves have passed through navigation systems. On the displays, the maps showed something impossible. Other dead suns rekindling, all at the same time. Each star had the same pulse pattern, the same rhythm. 3 short, 1 long. It was the binary phrase of the erasers. Light must not be born. But it was too late. The light had been reborn, and the whole universe was looking back. The brightness returned to the stars, but it was not the same. Each rekindled sun pulsated in identical patterns, as if they shared a common mind. From the bridge of Eidolon, Lyra watched the star map trembling. The lights of the rekindled suns flickered in the same rhythm as the voice that echoed in her mind. "He's waking up," said the star of Orpheon, his voice deep and distant. "The hunter hears the call of light." The sensors began to register distortions in the fabric of space. Huge gravitational waves formed between the rekindled systems. It was as if the universe itself was breathing in light and exuding fear. The crew's scientist fixed his eyes on the readings, his voice trembling. "These pulsations are aligning. It's as if they were creating a corridor." "A corridor for what?" asked Lyra. He hesitated. The phrase remained in the air like a poison. The star kept talking, her voice now mingled with hisses and echoes, as if it were weakening. "The erasers called us guardians, but we were not saints. We were accomplices. When the Creator fragmented into light, we split him. We lock your consciousness in the heart of 100 suns, and we promise never to rekindle them." Lyra's blood ran cold. "You're saying that the hunter is the Creator himself?" "What's left of it," replied the star. "The part that went crazy to see itself reflected in everything. Each rekindled star is a piece of your memory coming back into existence." The silence on the bridge was absolute. The entire universe became a living equation about to collapse in on itself. As the star spoke, holographic images began to project themselves through the ship's system. Ancient civilizations bowing before talking suns, colossal ships, the eraser machines, hurtling at entire constellations, erasing them one by one. And in the background, an elusive silhouette moving between galaxies, a body of pure light, so vast that its presence warped reality itself. "The Creator is neither good nor evil," the voice continued. "He just wants to remember who it was, and for that, he needs all that is light." The navigator turned to Lyra. "If he wakes up completely, there won't be enough universe to contain it." Lyra kept his gaze fixed on the projection of the hollow spiral, the symbol of the erasers, now glowing red on the panels. 82, ma'am, and increasing. The commander knew what this meant. When the 100th sun shone again, the Creator would remember himself, and the universe, made of its fragmentation, would cease to have purpose. She walked away from the window. "The erasers were right," she said in a low voice. "But they were also doomed." The linguist asked, confused. "Convicts?" "Yes. To turn off the light is to deny one's own existence. But to rekindle it, it is to call the end." The words echoed like an epitaph. Suddenly the sun of Orpheon intensified its brightness. The readings showed that he was dying again, but this time by choice. "If I black out, maybe he'll sleep a little longer," said the voice, weakening. "But if you rekindle the next one, there will be no turning back." The light dimmed until only a spark remained. Before disappearing completely, the sun whispered for the last time, "The hunter does not come to destroy. He comes to remind the universe that it shouldn't exist." The silence returned, and for the first time since the beginning of the Night of the 100 Suns, Lyra didn't know if humanity should fight for light or help the universe sleep again. The panels flashed one last time. On the star map, a new star has rekindled, the 93rd sun, and with it, something began to move between the constellations. The whole space was at war. At the edges of hundreds of systems, colossal eraser machines moved to prevent the dawn of the 100th sun. Each was the size of a moon, ancient structures created to contain light itself. Their forms resembled crosses between organisms and armor, covered in symbols that pulsated like open wounds in the fabric of the cosmos. But humanity, propelled by the voice of the stars, refused to watch the end without a fight. The unified fleet, composed of humans and remnants of civilizations that had survived the Night of the 100 Suns, rose for the last time. The ships crossed space like spears of fire, while behind them, the stars rekindled in sequence, one by one, like drums of cosmic war. Lyra Kalem was in the center of the storm. The Eidolon, now modified with technology stolen from the eraser machines themselves, was the most powerful ship ever built by human hands. From the deck, she watched the darkness writhe. Gravitational waves streaked through the fleets like invisible tides, twisting starlight, tearing space into fragments. The universe trembled. "All systems ready," the lieutenant announced. "Destination, the 100th sun, the Helion Prime system." The fleet plunged into the fold, and when it emerged, the scenery before them was indescribable. The last sun pulsed violently, surrounded by hundreds of eraser structures, all converging on a single point. A central machine so large it seemed to touch the very horizon. Around it, the Alliance ships formed a defensive circle, like warriors protecting a sacred flame. "If they turn off that sun," said Lyra, "the universe will sleep forever." She took a deep breath. "But if we rekindle it, it may never sleep again." It was the ultimate dilemma: the erasure of creation or the awakening of the Creator. The battle began without warning. The eraser machines opened fire with bursts of gravitational energy, waves that bent time, turning seconds into eternities. The human ships responded with warp cannons, distorting the space around the guns. Each shot was like the birth of a new sun. The void lit up. Nearby planets evaporated. The stars vibrated in resonance. The War of the 100 Suns had begun. Communications exploded in static. Voices mingled in despair and courage. "Alpha Sector collapsed. Reinforce the left flank. They're trying to seal the sun's core." Lyra watched the panels with the coldness of someone who has already accepted the impossible. "Bring Eidolon to the center. Let's open the way to the core." The ship plunged into the heart of the battle, cutting through debris and living darkness. Each maneuver was a postponed death sentence. The shields vibrated as if the universe itself were trying to crush them. In the center of the chaos, the sun began to speak again. "Lyra Kalem, why do you fight?" She clenched her fists. "Because I still believe that existing is worth the pain. Pain is the price of light," replied the sun. "And the Creator comes to collect what is his." Suddenly, the space opened up. A huge crack, a crack in reality, has emerged above the sun. From it, an indescribable glow began to emanate. There was no shape, no defined color. It was pure, living, conscious light, the Creator, or the Hunter. Time has stopped. The eraser's machine stopped the attack. The light, instead of consuming, observed. Lyra understood what he needed to do. "Channel all the energy of the Eidolon into the core of the sun," he ordered. "If he is going to wake up, let it be by looking at us." The spacecraft plunged towards the star. The shields dissolved. The hull melted. Inside the bridge, Lyra opened the transmission channel and whispered, "If creation needs a mirror to see what it has become." The light enveloped her. The sun exploded, and for an instant, all the stars in the galaxy shone as one. Silence returned first. Not an ordinary silence, but silence after the impossible. The kind of stillness that the universe only experiences once in an eternity. Where there was once war, there was now light. A pure light with no visible origin spread throughout the void like a golden mist. The ruins of the eraser's machines floated aimlessly, transformed into crystal statues. Space was calm but alive, breathing slowly, as if it had woken up from a billion-year-old nightmare. No one knew what was left of the human fleet. Communications were muted, and warp systems had been torn apart by the flash. Only one ship still emitted a signal, weak, pulsating, and persistent. The Eidolon. At the center of what was left of the Helion Prime system, it floated partially destroyed. The burnt hull reflected the white light that came from all sides. Inside it, Lyra Kalem was still breathing. The burned-out monitors flashed intermittently. She opened her eyes and saw what no human had seen before, the universe reborn. The crack that had opened up over the last sun was still there, but now, instead of darkness, it emanated color. They were bands of light that danced like auroras, crossing entire systems and galaxies. Lyra, exhausted, tried to get up. "Eidolon, status." No response. The voice of the ship's artificial intelligence had fallen silent, but something responded, coming from space itself. "The pain has passed." It was the voice of the sun, no longer that of Orpheon, nor of Helion, but of all the stars together. They spoke as a single conscience, serene and unfathomable. "You have rekindled what has been forgotten." "And what was the hunter?" asked Lyra with effort. "It was not the creator," replied the light. "It was the reflection of the fear of creation. When you rekindled the stars, you reminded the universe that it was not born to hide. He was born to feel." The commander closed her eyes. In the midst of the calm, tears flowed. Silent, heavy, humanity had fought against gods, faced the dark, and rekindled the very concept of existence. But at what cost? She looked at the panel and saw one last transmission being sent automatically. A beam of data traveling in all directions. Message from Commander Lyra Kalem. "If anyone hears this, know that we won, but we did not survive as before. The universe has changed, and maybe that's what should always have happened." Her voice was lost in the immensity. The light continued to grow, slow, warm, and comforting. Abandoned planets began to bloom again. Atmospheres were remade. New forms of life emerged in the reborn glow. And somewhere far away at the edge of the galaxy, a child opened his eyes under a new sun. The first of a new human era. In the heart of the void, where the last sun had exploded, a remnant of Eidolon still glowed. Among the wreckage, a fragment of the hull bore Lyra's name, engraved and charred, reflecting the light she herself had returned to the cosmos. And for a moment, the whole universe seemed to whisper, "The war is over. The light has returned home." But amid the stillness, one last detail went unnoticed. At the bottom of the cosmic rift, beyond the dawn, something flickered. A shadow, one breath, as if the Creator himself, now awakened, was still dreaming. The War of the 100 Suns ends as it began, with silence and light. But the silence is different now. It is the sound of a universe that has finally remembered to exist.